Yo, yo, it's time to discover the flow. Shout out to the bros. You know, I like to welcome everybody to discover the flow. No matter how you discover the show or discover the bros, now you about to see how far we can go, because it's time for discover the flow. Yeah, cowabunga do. You know live is how we come to you. Turn the levels up when you hear the boys coming through. The Pod Squad giving you just what you need, hitting you with a new special guest every week. Don't you dare hit skip, man, it's Tristan and Kip. DTF Pod about to take you on a trip. Mega Ran bring the heat, yeah. But be clear, I wasn't even supposed to be here. Welcome to Discover the Flow. No matter how you discovered the show or discovered the bros, now you about to see how far we can go, because it's time for Discover the Flow. Let's start the show.
I'm doing quite well. I just finished a couple hours going live, so that was
awesome.
That was good. That was good. Sold some books, so that's always a plus.
Well, for the uninitiated, for people who don't know, why don't you tell us what you do and what led to you writing this book?
Oh, absolutely. Hello, everybody. How are you? My name is Kevin Laws. I am a retired special agent from Homeland Security Investigations, and I investigated internet crimes against children for just under 20 years. 11 of those years, I worked online undercover. My first 2 years undercover, my persona was that of a little girl. The last 9 years undercover, my persona was that of the predator. So yeah, 9 years as the bad guy. How did I come about writing this book? As a complete fluke. When I was doing these investigations, I got into some ridiculously crazy cases. So my coworkers were like, Kevin, you know, when you retire, you should think about writing a book. And I'm like, really? And they're like, oh, yes. And voila, here we are.
That's kind of fantastic.
That's got to be a pretty incredible career to be in that position, both sides, to be on both sides of the coin in that hunt. But I've also heard, and this is just something that I heard from investigators and computer forensic analysts that I've known for the police force, going through those kind of files and those people's computers day in and day out is very trying and very difficult to do.
Oh,
Did you have that? Did you have that experience that it weighs on you?
Oh yeah, there was a time about probably a little less than 10 years in. I came home from work one day and I told my wife, and I said, I need to stop. I said, this is killing me. And that's exactly what I said. And we talked about it for about 10 or 15 minutes. And guess what? I did not quit. But yeah, I knew it was affecting me. But I made it through. And you know, and that's why national. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
that's
go ahead, please.
That's why nationally, nationwide, the average length of time that somebody works in this career field is 3 to 5 years. That's it. That's it. And I did it for just under 20. And that's not to brag. That's to say that was stupidity. Nobody should do that.
Now, what did you do before you got into Homeland Security? What was your profession there?
Well, it's kind of interesting. I started with U.S. Customs, and I was originally started as a Marine Enforcement Officer in Florida, and then I took a promotion to a special agent. Did large-scale narcotics investigations, and then once they created HSI, then they just moved the agents from Customs over to HSI. Yes.
And what was your early job in Homeland Security?
When it was created, yeah, I was in this field. I was in, crimes against children.
Oh, so this was always what you were doing. Okay.
Yeah, 95% of my career was devoted to internet crimes against children. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, way the hell too long.
Yeah, that's a lot of darkness in your life.
Yeah. I tell people it's the most depressing and rewarding job you could ever have.
Yeah, that's I imagine, and it's in a day and age where unfortunately, this is something that's huge, and we see it everywhere. It's all over the internet. It's been on TV for years. They're always ripping from the headlines and stuff to make different, police dramas nowadays and this stuff. There's an entire series devoted to literally stuff like this, and it's weird that it's such a big thing in our society nowadays.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's been big many years ago. Now it's just the instant news, the instant media. So people thinking, oh, it's a bigger problem. No, it's been a massive problem since the early years of the internet. And that was one of the things that caught people off guard. I was fortunately or unfortunately involved in this from the early years of the internet. When I started working this, we were literally posting ads in swinger magazines. Email wasn't even abbreviated yet. So when the gates of hell opened, and the tidal wave of evilness came out, nobody was prepared for that.
Now, when you say posting in magazines, were there magazines back in the day that had personal ads like that?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
That's something I don't know about. Like we grew up in the area of we grew up with like Playboys and Penthouse and Easy Rider and stuff like that. But I never knew that there were magazines where you could actually like make posts or ads and stuff like that about stuff.
Yeah, they were in the Triple X bookstores, and that was the first time I ever walked into one of those. Yikes! It's exactly like you see in the movie, like the sticky floor and the curtains, and I'm like, this is like the Twilight Zone. And the guy was helping Jimmy. We used to go in and stand there and page through the magazines and look in the back. They were in a magazine. They were a newspaper, and then the first pages were like Triple X movies and the porn stars and stuff like that. And the last 4 or 5 pages were ads, and most of them were like not encrypted but coded, like 35M looking for BWB, so 35 male looking for big beautiful women, or and we'd post the ads in the back of that. Yeah.
Oof. Kip and I grew up in the era of like LimeWire and Napster and stuff like that. And I remember I quickly learned some codes, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, because it allowed me to stay away from certain things where, you're trying to download music videos or movies or old wrestling matches and stuff like that. And it says it takes 30 minutes, but then it downloads in 30 seconds. And it's something you never wanted to lay your eyes on before. So you start learning codes. Yeah.
Yeah. And you become almost become a criminal by accident in that day and age. You became, it was technically pirating things, and downloading from Napster was technically illegal anyway, but you become such a bigger criminal by accident because these people are putting things in and coding it and hiding it as something else.
Oh, absolutely. And I was involved in a number of investigations where we got the tip that XYZ was downloading illegal pictures or videos, and we'd go and we'd get enough for a search warrant, and we'd hit the house and find out that in one particular one, it was this military dude, and he just had his Napster to download all, like he wanted all pornography, and he had, oh my God, he had terabytes of information.
Wow.
Because he was downloading it on portable hard drives and then taking it deployment. And so, we get his computer, because I also did computer forensics for 13 years. And we find out that, it was bycatch. And that was a thing, because, he's downloading 100,000 images, and, 3 of those are illegal.
Right.
Weird question. So bear with me. I don't know if I know how to word this right. Like, when it comes to something like pornography like that, like even if it's consensual stuff, legal stuff, is there a illegal amount someone can have?
Oh no. You can have as much as you want.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it wasn't so much about the amount, but the content. Okay.
Yeah. Once he got to the underage stuff, then there was the problem.
Yeah. Which, I mean, if you're downloading it and keeping it and putting it on hard drive, you're begging to be caught at that point.
Well, yeah, because I don't know the exact settings that he had, but like I said, he just had it set to download anything pornographic.
Probably anything where it would search certain terms or certain like 3-digit or 3-letter codes and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like both of you said, you figure out the codes to put in, and he didn't. He just was like, if it's a picture of a naked person, I want it. And then I remember talking to the guy, and he is just mortified when we tell him what we found on his computer. The dude's like, what? No. Yeah. And he's like, dude, I don't do that. He said, and he literally said, I just download all the pornography I can. I'm like, really?
That doesn't seem like the smartest
So-
move, man.
Right.
So what happens in that situation? Just out of curiosity now, what happens in that situation? Because if he had legitimately had no intention of it,
Yeah, there
is
has
he
to be
still
there has to be the criminal intent. There has to be the criminal
okay?
intent. So we just seize the stuff and say, dude, you can't download everything because you're going to get some illegal stuff. And that wasn't the first time. The most shocking one was I used to do the forensics for the Army and the Air Force when I was up in Alaska, and I did the forensics on this service member, and literally the prosecutor didn't talk to me before she charged. So we're literally walking down the hall to the trial, and she said, well, so tell me about your exam. And I'm like, you obviously did not read my report that I sent you. And I said, he's going to get off. I said it was bycatch. And I thought she was going to swallow her tongue. Because she's like, what do you mean? I said, he downloaded, he has 50,000 images on there. I'm like, 4 are child exploitation. And she's like, I said, it's bycatch. And sure enough.
So this is a case where you generally believe this gentleman didn't intend to.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Because, you have to figure if you're.
When somebody makes that claim, though, like, how do you go about deciding whether or not that you think they're telling the truth?
Well, you have to figure if he's downloaded, I just picked 50,000. If he's downloading 50,000 images and 4 are illegal, and that's the only thing he has on his computer, it just stands to reason that
there's got to be a certain ratio that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's not categorized. Yeah, it's not in a specific folder like 9-year-olds or something like that, and it's just in there. And you're like, listen, he has 50,000 images and 4 are illegal. There's no way that he intentionally did that because that's the only thing on the computer.
Yeah. So his biggest problem was more of an addiction than anything.
Yeah. And and you look at the search terms and he's not searching for it, and you look at his browser history and there's no history in there. And so you take the totality of it, and I tell her, I'm like, listen, you shouldn't have charged the dude. You should not. And he didn't get convicted, and rightfully so.
I got to imagine it comes out the other way around quite often, though, where people are like, oh, I didn't know I had that, or I didn't imagine, but then that's the majority of what their stuff is. And you're like, come on, man.
Oh no, the best, really? And I always, and when we heard this, we always knew, hey, will we find any illegal images like child pornography, child exploitation pictures or videos on your computer or any of your media? Well, I don't think so. Or well, there shouldn't be. And I'm like,
well, of course there shouldn't be.
Right? There shouldn't be, or there won't. That's 2 drastic different things right there. And whenever they said that, we're like, all right, we have the right person. Yeah.
That's wild. So go ahead. I don't know how to word my question yet because I'm still putting things together here.
So in your 11 years doing this, and how many years did you say you were undercover as a little girl?
2 years. 2 years. Yeah, I worked in this field for just under 20.
What I just out of morbid curiosity, like what is that even like? Like how do you have help people who help you with that? Like how do you even get into the mindset of being a 9-year-old girl for the or something like that? Like what basis do you go off of? As I was like, we're middle-aged men. You're slightly maybe a year or two older than us. Uh but like how do you get into that mindset? You know what I
Well,
mean?
well, see the thing with that when you're playing the little girl persona, and I won't go into explicit details, but
Yeah.
you're not having intellectual conversations. Yeah, you're not having intellectual conversations. It's just the guy's just like, hey, how old are you? And you're like, oh, I'm 13, and they just go right into it. Hey, you ever had,
Oof.
you ever did this? You want to do this? Why don't we hook up? And you're like, oh my god. Whereas contrast that to the adult persona, and that's drastically different. Um, yeah,
A
when
lot of pretending to be naive, I imagine.
oh god, yeah, yeah, yeah,
So you said you spent quite a lot of time in the predator role as to catch people.
yeah.
Is that talking to other predator? Is that like talking to the adults, trying to find out if you can get like buying stuff and things like that? Is that
Yeah,
what that role was?
that's exactly what that was. I would go into chat rooms and forums where they hung out and strike up a conversation. Say, "Hey, I happen to be a predator, and I have kids. Would you like to come and do unthinkable things to them?" And quite a number of them would be like, "Oh, absolutely." And when I got in,
I feel like I'd have to have a shower after that just to wash the gross off. You know what I
oh
mean? Like,
oh it was it was a lot when I first started into it. I had no idea, and I figured, oh, there would be like code words and the secret decoder ring and the handshake. So I went into some of these chat rooms, and holy hell, it was just brutally in your face. This is what I want to do to your kids in the most graphic detail.
oh,
It's insane that people even do that. But I mean, I've kind of I don't want to call it a fan, but I've had this weird interest in like documentaries over the years, and unfortunately, there's quite a few documentaries about stuff like this, and we've talked about it ourselves. There was the Jared Fogle one where his manager was helping him find children and people underage, but then in his own life, him and his wife were doing that with his own stepchildren. Where I'm like, there's no limit to these people and what they'll do to get what they want. It's insane.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's why the what is that saying? The depravity of man knows no bounds. And I always thought that was kind of weird until I worked this, and I'm like, oh, I get it now. I get it now.
well, and I mean, obviously, this all has existed for a long time because there were, like you said, there were books, there were ads, there people could post personal ads looking for stuff like this. But was it really the internet that made it as prevalent as it seems like it's become?
100%, 100%. Because, before there wasn't a place for these folks to gather. And I use that in quotes because it's not like, we meet over a burger and talk about, doing unthinkable things to kids. So once the internet came on and there was chat rooms and forums and all that, then these folks were like, let's go. Oh, I'm not a freak. So here I am in a chat room with 100 other people talking about the exact same thing. So it made it more normal for them.
Jeez.
I'm
They say hurt
I'm
people hurt
fascinated.
people. So like I wonder how many of these people have experienced this stuff in their own personal life beforehand.
Statistically, it's relatively low. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, the vast
See, I
majority
wouldn't have guessed that.
yeah, the vast majority of these folks have not been preyed upon when they were little. Yeah.
Jeez. What do you think about the work that people like Chris Hansen do?
Well, I think it was good that it brought it to light, but it was bad in the fact that a lot of those people didn't get prosecuted because the folks that they had working undercover didn't know what they were doing.
Really? What were they doing wrong that allowed these people to get off?
Entrapment. Entrapment.
Oh.
When I used to teach a week-long online undercover class. Taught it all over the United States, and I told people when I was teaching, you have to find the in between, the worst of the worst and the most naive when you're doing undercover, and you can't. There's some things you can't do to bait people. So the entrapment says you can offer somebody the opportunity to commit a crime. Okay. For instance, I could say, Kip, hey, when we pop off here, how would you like to go rob a bank? And Kip would be like, not really. And I'd be like, Tristan, when we pop off, how would you like to rob a bank? You're like, let's go. So, and the opposite of that is there's some things that you can't do, like, hey, if you don't help me, then I'll kidnap your family. Or if you're a good Christian, you would help me rob this bank. So yeah, there's some nuances in there that you can't do. But if you do them, then it's considered entrapment.
Yeah. There seems to be a big uptake also nowadays in online groups like the Midwest pedo hunters, who basically they become vigilantes on their own, for lack of a better term. You know what I mean? Where they take it upon themselves to go about this and do what they think is the same thing that you're doing. But it always seems to end one of two ways, where they're turning over stuff to the cops, or they're tricking people into showing up in public places. And then oftentimes we find videos and see stuff where they're physically assaulting these people and taking it in their own hands. Like, I know that's not the right way to go about it, and I know probably everybody has had that thought at least once in their life, but I mean, is that doing more harm than good? Where are these people able to get off from that as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they're absolutely doing more harm, because if law enforcement doesn't get involved and the bad guy's not charged, what have they accomplished? Those videos are getting tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of views. They're monetized. So what I would tell those online vigilante folks that don't get law enforcement involved, you're getting rich off the backs of children, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Because
And
they're
allowing
making
those people to get away with it.
Yeah, because what have they accomplished? Sure, maybe they give them a tune-up, and they get away. And what have they did? They made the bad guy a lot more cautious for the next time.
And I mean, I won't act like I don't enjoy, as you said, seeing them get a tune-up, but I'd rather see them behind bars.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, every people like that. I mean, if I watched them, I would probably laugh. But if you want to see them get their just desserts, then send them to prison, because prison is not good for these folks. Ooh, no.
Oh, no. Yeah, no. Prison will take care of them a lot better than any guy in a supermarket can do.
Oh, 100,000%. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows the stories about what happens to chomos that go to prison.
Yeah,
it's not good.
It is not. Yeah, it is not. So and I get to ask that a lot when I'm on doing my live. Why didn't you lose your temper and take it out on one of these folks? I said, listen, no reason for me to risk my career. I know what's going to happen to them when they get to prison, and it's ugly.
Yeah, I unfortunately knew a gentleman who went to jail for crimes like that, and not only was he in there as a child sexual predator, but he was also a former police officer. And as I'm told, that combination is not a great combo for him. Quite often, for his own safety, we've heard about him being put in solitary confinement.
Yikes! That's a lose proposition right there.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I had
former police officer and a crimes against or sexual crimes against children. Yeah,
that's bad. Well, I had
yeah.
one of the dudes that I arrested.
No sympathy.
No, one of the dudes that I arrested, California was also going to charge him, San Francisco, and I remember they sent him to Lompoc, which, if you don't know, in the federal system, that's I think it's the worst federal prison. And Kyle, the U.S. attorney in San Francisco, called us as in Steve and I. Steve was the U.S. attorney I was working for, and they're like, "Hey, we had to postpone Glanville's sentencing down here." And we're like, "Well, what's happened?" Yeah, they just about killed the guy.
Oh,
yeah,
jeez.
Pushed him down the steps, broke his nose, broke his jaw, broke a few ribs, and he had
Couldn't have happened to a nicer fella.
Right, and he had his jaw wired shut, so he couldn't talk. So, and he's been to 5 or 6 different prisons. He's the dude I keep up on, because he was the worst of the worst. He was the worst person I ever arrested, and he's still in prison until 2029.
I have a weird question. I have a weird question for you, and I know this is not a topic that's funny in any way, shape, or form, but over the years, we found quite a bit of humor. Like I said, we were fans of watching Chris Hansen stuff. And I love the way he trolls people reading back some of the stuff that they say to embarrass them, and the way he does it. Have you guys ever found any situations where you had to laugh at how stupid some of these people were getting caught in the way that they went about things?
Let's see. Well, we always found something humor in there. It was pretty dark. I do remember, and this was funny. One of the first, when I was the little girl persona, one of the guys, the deal was always, "Hey, can I show you on webcam?" And of course, you'd be like, "Oh, of course, I'd like nothing better." Right. So this dude turns on his webcam, and he's holding his penis. I can't even see it. It is so small, it does not. And I'm like,
oh God.
I hate to say it that way, but almost you have to make the joke of, a bit like, "Oh, well, if I was a young girl, I'd be safe right now."
Right. I actually typed to the guy, "I'm sorry, I can't see it." Because
there has to be something deep inside that's so gratifying about being able to demean them in that way. Like, I know it's not professional, and it's a dark topic, but
Gallows in this situation, gallows humor has got to be. You have to have that gallows humor, because, like you said, it's so dark, it's so evil, that if you don't find some kind of humor in it, it's going to crush you.
Oh, absolutely. I and that's one thing I've said a million times. I would rather laugh about it than to cry about it, because I have cried a million tears.
What's for good or bad? What's one of the ones that sticks with you the most over the course of your career?
It had been de Glanville. De Glanville was my worst offender, and I remember walking into his apartment after we arrested him. Walking into his apartment. And as soon as I'll never forget this. I could draw this perfectly to this day. You walk up the steps, down a little hallway, and there's a divider, right? So there's a room on this side, the living room's on this side, and the bedroom's on this side. And you can literally stand in the middle of the divider and see them both. And then when you walk in the living room, there was French doors. It's kind of a weird setup. But as soon as I walked into the living room, one step in, I looked to my right, and there is about a 4 foot by 4 foot mirror there, and it has a giant heart drew on it, like with red lipstick, and the outline is scribbled over, and in the middle it says "Love me." And when I seen that, I'm like, "Oh shit!" That gives me like serial killer vibes, right? And then I'm in the house and I start finding like freaky stuff that I wanted to take. So I had to go back and get a amended warrant. Folks, it's not like on TV where they just take everything. If you want to take it and you want to use it in court, you have to go back and get a new warrant. So that's what I did. When I came back, the rest of the team had went on to another location that they were searching, and I'm there with an intern. So it's starting getting dark. The intern doesn't have a gun, and I start finding stuff like the devil leaves Georgia, and I find a manila envelope with all these satanic newspaper articles, and I find a book called Blood Works, and it's a huge leather-bound book, no words. It's just a picture book of people mutilating people. And I remember opening it up, and there was a picture of a dude carving a pentagram on this woman's back. Now I have scared myself shitless because I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to find a body in here. Yeah, this is the only time during my career that I was actually afraid for my life, because I thought there was going to be, if somebody would have jumped out of the closet, I wouldn't have shot them. I would have had a stroke.
It sounds more like less like reality and more like a scene that was cut out of the movie Seven.
Right?
Like that's wild.
Yeah.
God. These, oh.
Yeah. No,
this is a heavy interview, man.
Yeah, I mean it's
wow,
and it's a burden that you bore for decades.
I do not envy you any of that.
No, but at the same time, you appreciate the hell out of the work that you and people like you do.
Well, thank you.
Have you guys ever run across, like, I know you do like the online investigations and stuff like that, but are there any other ways that you find that you have been able to track these people down to get them off the streets, or like do you ever deal with like cults and stuff like that as well? Because I know this stuff unfortunately intersects.
Well, the cult thing is maybe a half of 1%.
Really, it's that small?
Oh God, yeah. Oh God, yeah. People that's an urban legend, is the big cabal of child molesters and stuff like that. That's an urban legend.
I'm glad that it is.
Yeah, but there are a friend of mine, a friend of mine actually arrested a few people that were plotting to. All right, this is pretty deep here. They were plotting to kidnap a kid off the street. Do unimaginable things to them, and then kill them and eat them.
That's wow.
Yeah, I have the affidavit in my training material. I've only been able to read 3 pages before I started crying. It is absolutely unbelievable.
It amazes me how broken people can be.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's, one of the most horrifying things that I found about this crime type is I have the only time I'll brag about myself, I have 66 arrests and 66 convictions, and that I'm pretty damn proud of. But listen to this, with few exceptions, every one of those people I would have sat down and had dinner and drink with them.
Yeah.
But for the fact that they were evil. Because they generally nice people, but they weren't.
The gentleman I spoke about earlier, who I told you was behind bars, that was the case for us too. He was a part of a big friend group. And to be honest, like nobody was down on themselves, but we all looked at him as like one of the best of us. Like he taught martial arts and self-defense to women and children. He was a train conductor, was supposedly this amazing husband and dad, and then just this dark secret none of us could have ever imagined, secretly there for 14 years.
Right.
He was doing it for 14 years to his stepdaughter behind everybody's back before he finally got caught. And
And-
none of us would have ever imagined.
No, and that's what that's what people. I had a hand in arresting a detective, SWAT team member, this big gung ho, hard ass guy. I It was my information that led to his arrest, and that's what I had. But his supervisor testified for him in court as a character witness, saying, "Oh no, it can't be him. He's this upstanding guy." And like, listen, it's him. It's him. People sometimes they can't wrap their head around that because they're like, oh, they're the nicest guy. Well, yeah, because you know why? Because children are not attracted to the evil person, the outwardly evil person.
Besides your 66 convictions, do you have something in your career that you're most proud of?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There was one dude that I arrested, and I was doing the undercover as the adult. And he flew from Boston up to Alaska because I was in Anchorage. And he wanted to put his hands on a 5-year-old, a 5-year-old boy. And I didn't do the interview, of course, because I was the undercover. But after the interview was over, myself and Matt, another agent, we go in and we put the belly chains on him and the shackles, and we walk. This was at the airport, and we walk him towards the elevator, and we're waiting for the elevator to come up, and we're literally standing shoulder to shoulder, touching. And I'm not looking at the guy; I'm just kind of smiling internally, and he looks at me and he says, "You can see the light bulb goes on," and he turns to my boss and he says, "So there isn't any real children?" That moment that he just realized that I was the dude that he's talking to, when you can see the blood rush from his body and all the air being sucked out, and you couldn't jam a nail up his ass with a sledgehammer. That is the ultimate. When he realizes, oh my God, I've been talking to a cop.
That moment of pure satisfaction when he realizes his world is now over.
Yes, and that time when you can see pure 100% dread flood his body, like, oh yikes.
I could never do your job just simply based on the fact that when people have moments like that, I just have to look at them and be like, you dumbass.
Yeah.
But that seems like it's got to make all of the awfulness of it worth it.
It does. And yeah. For those moments I can definitely smile about, because I'm like, yeah, that's right. It was me.
And knowing that even though there were no kids actually in the conversation, you saved somebody's kid at some point.
Yes. Yeah. Because
many kids.
This dude had been doing it for years. Yeah.
Well, Mr. Laws, we applaud you and the work that you did over the course of your career. Can you please tell people where to find you on social media and where they can get your book, Hunter of the Damned?
Absolutely. I am on primarily I'm on TikTok. That's where I go live on TikTok. My book is available at www.kn, as in Nancy, steaching.com, knsteaching.com. Or you can find me I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook, Instagram,
and we'll have the link in the description of this podcast on Spotify and YouTube as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Well, before we go, we always like to say we're not very good podcasters and we don't know how to end this thing. So when you don't know how to do something, you steal from someone who's already done it better than you. So we do a little questionnaire at the end that was invented by Mr. Bernard Pivot and perfected by Mr. James Lipton on Inside the Actor Studio. So Kip, take it away.
I gotta find it first. I'm ill prepared.
I've got it. I can go with it until you find it, if you like.
No, I got it. Where did they go? Oh, did you delete all the notes out of here already?
No. This is
Go
the
ahead and
beauty of
start.
editing.
Right?
Go ahead and
Give
start.
me just
because I'm-
1 second, and Kip will be able to do that.
I have
so
hours.
unprepared.
You watching the Super Bowl today?
I might watch a little bit of it, but then I'll be popping back on live at 9 p.m. So I do want.
And what's your handle for TikTok again?
TikTok is Kevin's Book.
There you go.
Kevin.
I just sent you in the email.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just poorly prepared today. All right. So, Mr. Laws, what is your favorite word?
My favorite word. Ignorance.
What is your least favorite word?
I can't.
What sound or noise do you love?
The ocean.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Fingernails on a chalkboard.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Mortician.
Interesting. Never heard that one. What profession other than your own would you not like to attempt?
Let's see. Taxi driver.
Creatively, what turns you on?
Creative. Glass blowing.
Okay. And in the same vein, creatively, what turns you off?
Oh gosh, what would turn me off would be heavy metal music.
Okay. What is your favorite curse word?
Fuck.
And my favorite question, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Sorry.
No, don't apologize.
Please don't apologize.
Thank you. We say the same thing to you, sir. Thank you.
Sorry if we struck a chord with you there. I didn't intend to draw a reaction out of you like that.
That's PTSD. That's PTSD. You don't know when it's going to hit.
I understand. I do. And
Thank
thank you
you for
so very
sharing.
much for your time.
Thanks, man.